Grandma was a church secretary and saw the pastor's shocking spending with tithes. Eleanor had always believed in the sanctity of her work. The faded wooden desk in the corner of St. Mary's Church was her little kingdom. For over a decade, she organized events, typed up sermons, and delivered the Sunday bulletin with a flair only a devoted grandmother could muster. She kept track of donations, filled the church calendar with joyous occasions, and watched as families grew, side by side with faith. Everyone knew her. The church was more than just a building. It was her heartbeat. But then, last Tuesday, she stumbled upon those ledgers. Dusty, ancient records sprawled in the large, neglected drawer beneath her desk. Curious, she flipped through the pages, her heart thudding as numbers swam into focus. Hundreds of thousands in tithes. She gasped. But then the entries began to shift. Monthly trips to exotic locations, fancy dinners. The pastor's name appeared time and again beside extravagant charges. Each reveal felt like a punch to her gut. How could he? The community trusted him. Shaking, Eleanor's mind swirled with disbelief. She had seen the pastor preach with fervor, had shared her own faith with him, believing they were on the same mission. But here it all was, hidden in plain sight, the betrayal ringing louder than church bells on a Sunday morning. Was her faith misplaced? What did this mean for her church? For the families relying on him to lead their spiritual journeys? She couldn't take this lightly. The tightness in her chest grew as she envisioned confronting Pastor Dale. What would she say? "Excuse me, Pastor, but are you using our donations to fund your luxury vacations?" Her hands trembled at the thought. What would the congregation think? Would they back her? Or would they shove her aside, questioning her loyalty? Ravaged by fear and confusion, loneliness crept in. She started to pull away from the other church members. The bright smiles of families, feeling like a distant memory. Just when Eleanor thought she might finally confront the pastor, her heart nearly stopped as she noticed a mysterious figure in the back of the church one rainy Sunday. A tall woman in a tattered black coat. Shadows cloaked her face, yet something about her presence was magnetic. She stood quietly, observing the congregation. Eleanor felt a pulling sensation, like invisible strings tied to her heart. Who was she? Why was she here? The secrets of the church began to unravel further, whispers buzzing like hornets. Eleanor felt a cold shiver run down her spine when she found the woman lingering outside after service. "You need to know the truth about Pastor Dale," she said softly. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. This felt bigger than she could have imagined. Gasping for answers, as the weight of the pastor's influence loomed heavy next to her. As she prepared to confront him, the air crackled with tension. What fate awaited her in this clash of faith and truth? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Eleanor felt a jolt run through her as the woman's words hung in the air. You need to know the truth about Pastor Dale. Her heart raced, mouth dry. Who was this woman? How did she know anything? The church around her buzzed with chatter, families gathering, kids laughing, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. That woman in the black coat wasn't just a stranger. There was a weight to her presence, like a dark cloud looming over the bright sunshine of Sunday. Eleanor took a deep breath, stepping closer, her hands shaking. "What do you know about Pastor Dale?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman leaned in, her eyes piercing. "He's not who you think he is. The donations, they are just for him." Confusion twisted inside Eleanor. What did that even mean? "What do you mean?" she pressed, desperation leaking into her voice. But the woman simply shook her head. "You need to see for yourself." Before Eleanor could respond, the woman slipped a piece of paper into her shaking hands. "Meet me tomorrow at the old mill, 8 o'clock. Bring your courage, Eleanor." And just like that, she was gone, disappeared into the throng of churchgoers, leaving Eleanor clutching the paper, confusion wrapping around her. The rest of the service blurred by, songs and prayers tangled in. Her mind. When it was over, she found herself stepping outside, the weight of the ledger burning in her pocket, the paper crumpling between her fingers. What was she about to uncover? Eleanor felt that familiar tightness in her chest again, but it was different this time. It felt electric, charged with a sense of purpose. That night, she couldn't shake the feeling. The wind howled outside her window, each gust echoing in her mind. The old mill was crumbling, forgotten, just like the secrets she was beginning to unravel. She replayed every moment, found herself standing in front of the mill, heart pounding. Shadows loomed, the moon barely lighting the cracked stones. Her breath came in quick bursts. Would she regret this? Then she heard a sound, barely a whisper, but it sent chills racing down her spine. You came. It was the woman, stepping from the dark, eyes glimmering like stars against the night. Good. There's much to reveal. Eleanor stepped closer, desperation weaving through her. "What do you know? Tell me." But just as the woman opened her mouth, a loud crash echoed from behind, the doors of the mill bursting open. A figure stumbled out, none other than Pastor Dale, his face twisted with rage. "What are you doing here, Eleanor?" The warmth of the night evaporated, replaced by a choking tension. "Pastor," she began, but he cut her off. "Stay away from her, she's lying." Eleanor froze, heart racing. Could it be? Had this woman been telling the truth? The pastor's face paled, panic flashing in his eyes. "You don't want to get involved in this, Eleanor." Before she could respond, a blinding light flooded the area, flashing blue lights. Sirens blared. The tension shattered, and she clutched the woman's arm. The truth promising to spill out. What was happening here? What secrets were entwined so deeply that they brought the police? Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. She was standing between the pastor and the woman, each holding a part of a truth she was not ready to face. The ground beneath her felt unstable, and she realized everything she thought she knew was about to be flipped upside down. What other layers of deception lay ahead? Could she trust anyone now? As the sirens wailed and shadows danced, Eleanor stood frozen, knowing she was about to step into something far darker than she ever imagined. Eleanor stood frozen, heart pounding, as the chaos enveloped her. The harsh lights, the sirens, and the sudden confrontation. Pastor Dale loomed closer, eyes wild, his voice raised, shattering the stillness she once felt in church. "Just leave this alone," he shouted, desperation coating his words. But she couldn't. Not now. The woman beside her, the one wrapped in mystery, remained calm, fingers steady against Eleanor's arm. "We have to move," she whispered, urgency edged in her tone. But as Eleanor glanced at her, confusion flared. Why was the pastor so threatening? What did he know? Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the night, an explosion. A second figure emerged from the shadows, rushing towards them. Eleanor blinked in disbelief as the newcomer pushed past the police officers, a familiar face. It was Greg, the church treasurer. "Eleanor, you need to listen," he yelled, breathless. Urgency wrapping around him like a storm. "The pastor isn't what you think. It goes deeper than money, so much deeper." "What do you mean?" Eleanor gasped, drowning in her frustration. "How can you defend him?" "Trust me, you don't know everything," Greg's voice broke, desperation twisting his features. Panic flickered in his eyes. "There are things he's involved in that you can't possibly fathom." The crowd of onlookers had thickened, murmurs buzzing around them like bees. Faces twisted in shock, some glanced at the sirens, while others gawked at the unfolding drama. Eleanor's fingers curled tightly around the paper the mysterious woman had handed her. She could feel the weight of the ledgers in her pocket. A tangible reminder of the truth she sought. But just as she was about to demand answers, a crushing wave swept through her. The sight of the woman in the black coat, once steady, now trembling. She stepped back, dark eyes wide, fear glimmering within. Her voice trembled. "Eleanor, it's not just about the pastor. It's about me." "About you?" Eleanor echoed, bewildered. "Trust me," the woman cried. "I had to come forward. My past, it's tied to his. And if he's hiding money, it's hiding secrets that could destroy everything." The tension in the air became thick, palpable, every heartbeat ringing in Eleanor's ears. She recalled her faith, the years spent within these walls that once felt like home. What had she built her life around? "Your past?" Eleanor whispered, heart racing. "What are you saying?" Then the woman, trembling now, leaned closer, desperation sharp in her expression. "Eleanor, my name is not just a stranger's. I'm here to reveal something you never expected. Something that connects us in a way you can't imagine." "What do you mean?" Eleanor demanded, feeling the world tilt, confusion spinning. But before she could grasp the words, sirens blared louder, an officer rushing towards the pastor. "Get down, now!" the officer shouted, eyes darting dangerously. In an instant, the woman pushed Eleanor aside. A blinding flash pierced the night. Gunfire erupted. Chaos unfurled. The pastor's face morphed from rage to disbelief as he leaped to shield himself. The crowd screamed. Scattering like leaves in a storm, Eleanor was thrown back, heart racing, breath caught in her throat. Was this real? Sirens still wailed, but something felt different now. Something ancient and dark rippled below the surface. Who was this woman? What did she know? As the dust settled, Eleanor stared into the chaos, awash in fear. Everything began to shift, shapes and shadows blurring together, and she felt her world tumble, caught between two truths. What secrets lay hidden? As she searched for answers, now with something sinister creeping closer, the only question left was, could she trust anyone anymore? Eleanor stood frozen, heart pounding as chaos enveloped her. The harsh lights, the sirens, and the sudden confrontation. Pastor Dale loomed closer, eyes wild. His voice raised, shattering the stillness she once felt in church. "Just leave this alone," he shouted, desperation coating his words. But she couldn't. Not now. The woman beside her, wrapped in mystery, remained calm, fingers steady against Eleanor's arm. "We have to move," she whispered, urgency thick in her. But as Eleanor glanced at her, confusion flared. Why was the pastor so threatening? What did he know? Suddenly, she heard another loud bang. This time not from the police, but from the depths of the mill. A shadow shifted, and before anyone could react, a figure stumbled out, clothes torn and filthy. Eleanor gasped, recognizing the frazzled hair and wide eyes. It was Lily, the pastor's estranged daughter, who had vanished years ago. "What are you doing here?" Pastor Dale's voice cracked, shifting from anger to panic. Eleanor felt her heart drop. "Lily, is that really you?" Lily looked disoriented, caught between a past she had escaped and a present she couldn't fully grasp. I came back. I had to tell. You, it's all connected. The donations, the secrets, my father." She paused, a shiver running through her. Pastor Dale's face twisted in horror. "You shouldn't have come back. You don't know what he's capable of." "What are you hiding?" Eleanor shouted, her voice trembling. "What's happening here?" Lily took a shaky step forward. "It's about more than just money, Eleanor. It's about—" But just then, a blinding light flooded the scene. Police officers moved in, shouting orders, and the crowd gasped in shock. The air was thick with tension, every face turned toward the unfolding drama. Pastor Dale looked cornered, his bravado crumbling. "You need to get away from her! She's lying!" His voice was strained, pleading. Eleanor's mind raced, everything she thought she knew about this man was slipping away. The pastor, who brought hope and faith, was now a man with secrets and fear in his eyes. Behind him, the woman in the black coat simply watched, her expression inscrutable. "Tell me the truth, Lily." Eleanor's desperation spilled over, drowning any fear left in her. "What do you know?" Before Lily could answer, a chilling scream pierced the air. Eleanor whipped around, and her stomach dropped. The church community, once a source of warmth, was now a sea of gasping faces, their eyes wide with fear. A figure stumbled into the light. A man in a dark suit, bloodied and gasping. "Help me! He's coming!" he cried, falling to his knees. It was Greg, the treasurer. "Greg? What happened?" Eleanor rushed forward, dread curling in her gut. "Pastor Dale, he's not who you think he is. The money, it's not just funds. No, it's blood money." His words wheezed out, and the crowd murmured, uncertainty hanging in the air. "What do you mean?" Eleanor felt her world tilt. Blood money? The term twisted in her mind like a knife. But Greg's eyes were wide with terror. "There are people, dangerous people involved. He's been—" The pastor lunged forward, grabbing Greg by the shirt and yanking him to his feet. "You need to shut up. You're making this worse," he shouted, but fear locked the crowd in place. "Worse?" Eleanor echoed, heart racing. "What could be worse than this?" "Just leave it be, Eleanor." Pastor Dale's voice cracked, the mask of control slipping. "You don't want to know the truth." But now the truth loomed over them, heavy and suffocating. Lily stood beside Eleanor, a figment of the past. Greg coughed, blood splattering onto the ground, his gaze pleading. Eleanor felt something crack inside her. "No, this can't be happening." Then a loud crash came from the mill again. This time, the sound was different. Like something breaking, something vital. Something was waking up from the shadows. At that moment, every secret, every lie, every hidden truth rushed to the surface. Eleanor grasped the paper from the woman in the black coat, heart racing. It felt electric in her hand. Whatever was about to be revealed would shake her to the core. What lies tied them all together? Who could she trust? As the sirens blared louder and the air thickened with dread, Eleanor stood on the edge of revelation, knowing she might not survive the answer to that question. Eleanor stood frozen, heart pounding as chaos enveloped her. The harsh lights, the sirens, the sudden confrontation. Pastor Dale loomed closer, eyes wild, his voice raised, shattering the stillness she once felt in church. "Just leave this alone," he shouted, desperation coating his words. But she couldn't. Not now. The woman beside her, wrapped in mystery, remained calm, fingers steady against Eleanor's arm. "We have to move," she whispered, urgency thick in her tone. But as Eleanor glanced at her, confusion flared. Why was the pastor so threatening? What did he know? Suddenly, another loud bang echoed from within the mill. A shadow shifted, and before anyone could react, a figure stumbled out, clothes torn and filthy. Eleanor gasped, recognizing the frazzled hair and wild eyes. It was Lily, the pastor's estranged daughter, who had vanished years ago. "What are you doing here?" Pastor Dale's voice cracked, shifting from anger to panic. "Lily? Is that really you?" Eleanor's breath escaped in a rush. Lily looked disoriented, caught between a past she had escaped and a present she couldn't fully grasp. I came back. I had to tell you. It's all connected. The donations, the secrets, my—" "Father!" She paused, a shiver running through her. Pastor Dale's face twisted in horror. "You shouldn't have come back. You don't know what he's capable of." "What are you hiding?" Eleanor shouted, her voice trembling. "What's happening here?" Lily took a shaky step forward. "It's about more than just money, Eleanor. It's about—" Suddenly, blinding lights flooded the scene. Police were moving in, shouting orders. The crowd gasped in shock, faces a mix of uncertainty and fear. "Get away from her!" shouted an officer, eyes darting at Pastor Dale. Eleanor's heart raced. This was spiraling out of control. "What could possibly be worse than this?" she yelled, feeling the walls closing in around her. "Just leave it be!" Pastor Dale's bravado crumbled, panic dancing. In his eyes, "You don't want to know the truth." Then a loud crash erupted from the mill again. This time, the sound was different, like something breaking. Something vital was coming to light. As Greg stumbled forward, bloodied and gasping, Eleanor felt a freezing dread spread through her. "Help me! He's coming!" Greg cried, collapsing at their feet. "Greg!" Eleanor nearly screamed. "What happened? You need to tell me!" "Pastor Dale, he's not who you think he is. The money, it's not just funds. No, it's blood money." His voice strained, and the crowd murmured in shock. "Blood money?" she echoed, confusion clawing at her. Pastor Dale lunged forward, grabbing Greg by his shirt, eyes wild. "You need to shut up. You're making—" This worse. Eleanor felt something crack inside her. No, this can't be happening. But before she could fully process the chaos, Lily's eyes widened. "Eleanor!" Lily screamed, pointing into the shadows of the mill. "It's not just about him. It's about me, too." "What do you mean?" Eleanor felt the ground shift beneath her. But before Lily could say more, a figure emerged from the mill, tall, imposing, and carrying a glint of something dark. It was a man she had never seen before, dressed in a sharp suit, face obscured by a low hat. He moved smoothly, like a predator. "Lily," he said coldly, "you shouldn't have returned. You don't know what's at stake." Eleanor's stomach dropped. "Who are you?" she demanded, stepping closer to Lily. "Your past has caught up with you, both of you," the man said, his gaze flitting between Eleanor and Lily, a chilling smile spreading across his face. "Stay away from her!" Pastor Dale shouted, visibly shaken. "No, Dad," Lily said, voice trembling but resolute. "You can't protect me anymore." "Protect?" The man laughed, sound sharp and cruel. "This isn't about protection, Pastor. This is about power, and you've lost it." Eleanor's heart hammered. Power? What was happening? "Lily, what do you mean?" Eleanor urged, realizing the woman in the black coat was now watching, eyes wide, caught in the storm. "Everything you thought was safe is a lie." Lily stepped forward, voice breaking. "You're all in danger." The crowd tensed. Murmurs rising into a frenzy. Should they flee or stay? Then the lights of the police cars flashed brighter, sirens wailing. The tension stretching so thin it almost snapped. And there it was again, that loud banging sound from the mill. No, not just banging. It was rhythmic, deliberate. Thump, thump, thump. Eleanor's breath caught. "What's happening?" she whispered, confusion clouding her thoughts. Without warning, the ground beneath them trembled, cracks forming like spider webs. A rumble grew louder, drowning out the sirens, shaking loose bricks from the mill's foundation. Then, from the shadows, a horde of figures emerged, each cloaked, each carrying items that glinted in the flashing lights. Eleanor staggered back, her heart racing. Who were they? What did they want? As the figures advanced, the woman in the black coat gasped. "This isn't just about Pastor Dale. It's about the cult." Eleanor's heart dropped. The cult? Everything she thought she knew crumbled in an instant. What had she stepped into? As fear unfurled in her chest, she realized the answers were stretching out of reach, like hands beckoning her to dive deeper into the abyss. Could she survive this storm? Were they all just pawns in a game much larger than they could comprehend? As the shadows closed in, Eleanor felt the world tipping again, everything unraveling. What would she discover if she dared to step forward? Eleanor felt a rush of dread as figures emerged from the shadows, cloaked in fear and fury. The whispers grew louder, the crowd brimming with confused energy. Her heart pounded. Danger was closing in, and she felt the weight of truth press down on her shoulders. "What's happening?" she whispered again, harder this time, but no one was listening. Greg lay on the ground, wide-eyed, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Lily stood beside her, trembling, caught between the past and the chaos of the present. Pastor Dale's face twisted in anger, panic darting across his eyes as he sought to maintain control. But Eleanor's focus shifted back to the tall man emerging from the mill. His suit gleamed ominously under the police lights. "Oh no," she whispered, recognizing the look in his eyes. He scanned the crowd with a predatory gaze, zeroing in on her and Lily. "Release my daughter!" Pastor Dale bellowed, his voice cracking. But the man just chuckled, the sound sending shivers down Eleanor's spine. Your daughter, he sneered, eyes glinting like a knife. Lily is nothing but a pawn in a bigger game. You've all misplayed your hands. At that moment, Eleanor felt the air shift, an electric charge sparking through her veins. Something dark hovered just beneath the surface. "What do you mean?" she demanded, her heart racing. "What do you want?" Willie stepped forward, voice shaking but determined. "You can't keep hiding, Dad. You need to—" Sudden chaos erupted. A loud crash resonated from the mill, and before Eleanor could comprehend it, the police floodlights flickered out. Darkness swallowed the scene, plunging them into confusion. Shouts sounded, then fists collided with flesh, a scuffle igniting in the pitch black. "Lily, run!" Eleanor shouted, grabbing her hand. But Lily's face hardened, tears glistening in her eyes. "No, I have to confront him. I won't let him use me anymore." Her voice was a melody of defiance amidst the chaos. Then, as if on cue, an unearthly roar echoed from the heart of the mill. Eleanor's blood ran cold. What was that? A deep, throbbing sound that felt alive, making the ground shudder beneath her feet. Eyes widened, the crowd froze, fear spiraling into sheer panic. "Stay back!" one officer shouted, scrambling to regain control. But the figures moved closer. Shadows melding into the night, an army drawn forth by unknown forces. Suddenly, with a blast of wind, something burst through the mill doors, something big and shadowy, clawing its way into the world. The remaining lights flickered on, illuminating not just the chaos, but a grotesque figure emerging from the darkness, eyes glowing red, a monstrous silhouette growing with every beat of Eleanor's heart. "This is your doing," the man in the suit cried, pointing at Pastor Dale, voice rising in fury. "Your sacrifices have awakened something beyond our control." The crowd gasped, stepping back. Eleanor felt herself lean toward the truth hanging in the air. This was bigger than just money, bigger than merely betrayal. This was something ancient and unforgiving. "Sacrifices?" Eleanor echoed, confusion thick in her throat. "What do you mean?" But before anyone could answer, the creature roared again, louder this time, fury and hunger seeping into the night. Black smoke coiled around its limbs, thoughts becoming muddled. "Run!" Eleanor screamed, instincts kicking in, dragging Lily toward the safe distance of the church steps. But just as they turned, another figure stepped from the shadows. Someone familiar, someone she thought she'd never see again. "Mom?" Eleanor gasped, heart stopping. There she was, alive and standing amid the chaos, eyes wide with an unreadable expression. "What's going on?" Eleanor's voice trembled. "What's happening?" But her mother's gaze held a deep sorrow, and Eleanor knew, in that split second, the world she'd known was unraveling into something unrecognizable, a truth wrapped in layers of lies, whispers of danger, and the horror of the unknown. What did her mother know? What sacrifices had led to this moment? As the creature lunged, snapping jaws glinting in the light, Eleanor clutched Lily's hand tighter, heart racing. Depths of darkness were revealing themselves. What other secrets lay hidden? What had her mother been a part of all along? The air vibrated with uncertainty, and the truth hung heavy. As they stood together, caught between past and present, with the monstrous unknown roaring on the horizon. Eleanor felt her heart race, the chaos swirling around her like a storm. The monstrous figure loomed, its eyes glowing, demanding attention. She didn't even know what to feel anymore. Fear, anger, confusion, everything felt intensified, thick in the air around them. "Stay back!" she shouted, trying to hold Lily close, but her mind was spinning. The shadows were alive. The chaos of yelling voices and sirens faded, replaced by the deep growls coming from the creature. "Mom!" Eleanor cried, adrenaline pushing her to run toward her mother, who stood frozen in the light of the police cars. But just as she reached for her, the ground trembled again. Greg, still lying on the ground, gasped for breath, eyes darting as he turned toward the creature. This can't be happening," Greg stammered, panic flashing across his face. Lily shook her head. "We have to get out of here now!" But Eleanor couldn't move. She was stuck in the moment, her mother's presence a magnetic pull. "What is going on, Mom? Why are you here?" Just then, the man in the suit stepped forward, his eyes fixed sharply on Lily. "She should not be here. You don't understand the danger you're in." "What danger?" Eleanor felt her pulse quicken. "Why is it all connected to her?" And then, before anyone could respond, the creature charged forward, a dark shape lunging like a bolt of lightning. The air filled with screams. Panic erupted. Eleanor pulled Lily, trying to shield her from the chaos. But the next thing she knew, an explosion rocked the ground, sending debris flying through the air. "Get down!" a police officer shouted. But the moment blurred into chaos. In that heartbeat, everything shifted. Eleanor felt the world spin as the dust settled. She tried to regain her bearings, coughing from the thick air. And as she looked up, it wasn't just the creature they had to worry about anymore. From the rise of smoke, figures began to emerge. People in dark clothes, faces covered, moving with precision and purpose. More of them were coming out from shadows, parting like dark waves. Suddenly, the tall man shouted above the clamoring sirens, "It's time to choose a side." Eleanor gasped as she caught sight of the woman in the black coat, standing beneath a flickering light, her eyes wide. She stepped forward, her fingers trembling. "I should have told you, Eleanor. I should have told you I was never just a stranger." "What do you mean?" Eleanor felt panic rise. "What are you saying?" But before the woman could answer, she turned abruptly, eyes wide, and screamed, "Run!" But it was too late. The figure in the suit lunged, and ownership of the chaos shifted as gunfire erupted. Sounds of screams morphed into a frenzy of body heat and fear. People backing away, panicking, stumbling. Eleanor felt Lily's hand slip from her grip, but she was too preoccupied watching the unfolding horror to notice. And then the unthinkable happened. Just as the bullets split the air, Pastor Dale charged forward, arms raised, face twisted in effort, and yelled, "This is my fault. I did it to protect you." Eleanor's heart sank. Protect me? From what? But then amidst the chaos, the figure in the suit turned and fired back. There was a loud crack, and Dale fell to the ground, eyes wide, blood pooling beneath him. Eleanor stumbled back, hands shaking. "No! No!" Everything she thought she knew shattered in that instant. The man wasn't just protecting them. He was hiding something deeper, something wrapped in blood and deceit. But then, as the police cars swarmed closer, the woman in the black coat rushed forward, pulling her back. "It's bigger than this, Eleanor. You need to understand." And that's when the true twist unraveled. I'm your mother, the woman shouted, voice breaking through the chaos. Eyes locked on Eleanor. The ground felt like it dropped out from under her. Confusion spiraled. A total collapse of everything she believed. Her heart raced. Mind racing faster. What? The sirens wailed. Shadows closed in, and the truth hung heavy in the air. What had she just heard? What secrets twisted through their lives? As time froze, Eleanor stood on the precipice of revelation. Her world irrevocably changed. What did it all mean? Was anything real anymore? One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same. Eleanor's mind raced, confusion threading through her like a thick fog. What do you mean, you're my mother? The words stung, a bitter taste coating her tongue. She felt the tightly woven fabric of her life begin to unravel, the seams fraying with every heartbeat. The chaos swirled around her, but all she could see was the woman in front of her, someone she'd never truly known, but had somehow shaped her very existence. The sirens wailed, shadows danced, and the monstrous figure loomed, waiting like a specter in the back of her mind. You left me. You abandoned me. No, you don't understand, the woman cried, her voice catching. I had to protect you. For so long I thought I could hide. But they... Suddenly everything shifted. The creature lunged, its roars blending with the screams of the crowd. Panic erupted as people scrambled for safety, their faces twisted in terror. Greg writhed on the ground, fear flashing in his eyes. The officer shouted, desperately trying to maintain order. But there was no order now, only chaos. Eleanor turned back to the woman, eyes wide. Protect me from what? From him? She tossed her head toward Pastor Dale, who lay motionless, confusion knitting his brow. From the truth? I can explain, the woman gasped, desperation cracking her voice. But you need to get out of here now. Before Eleanor could process it, the creature seemed to pause, its fiery gaze fixed on her with a dreadful yearning. And in that frozen moment, the atmosphere thickened, electric, almost tangible. Eleanor could feel hearts beating in trepidation, hers lined with confusion and disbelief. Run! Lily shouted, yanking Eleanor's arm. But Eleanor just stood there, locked in place. Unable to peel her eyes from her mother's face, the face of a stranger she longed to know. Just then, the figure in the suit raised an arm, and the air crackled. You've played your last card, Pastor, he shouted. Then, with a horrifying flick of his wrist, something shot out, a flash, a blinding light. Eleanor squinted, shielding her eyes, but the light pierced through, blinding. She felt a wave of heat, then chilling cold, followed by an ear-splitting explosion. She stumbled back as the earth tremored beneath her feet, shockwaves ripping through the ground, and in the smoke and chaos she heard it, a low, rumbling laugh, deep and sinister. When Eleanor's vision cleared, she gasped. The man in the suit stood tall, but he wasn't alone. Beside him, the shadow of the creature pulsed, and with it, a human shape emerged. Another woman, identical to the one Eleanor had called her mother. You thought you could hide from your past? The second woman asked, eyes glimmering with a cruel light. Guess again. The crowd gasped, confusion boiling over into disbelief. Eleanor felt the world tilt again, her heart crashing against her ribs. There are two of you? The first woman glared at her doppelganger, rage flashing. This is all your fault. You couldn't keep your mouth shut. The air grew thick with tension. the crowd murmured, shadows flickering like flames around them. "What is going on?" Eleanor's voice cracked, desperation spilling out. "We are bound by blood." The second woman said, a wicked smile pulling at her lips, "You're not just a part of this, Eleanor. You're central to it all." Eleanor's mind reeled. "What are you talking about?" Then the second woman stepped closer, and the truth burst like a dam breaking. "You're not just a daughter. You're the key." Time froze, dread creeping up Eleanor's spine, every heartbeat drumming in her ears. What did that mean? She felt the ground shift underneath her, reality teetering on the edge. "What do you mean, I'm the key?" The first woman stepped forward, her look pleading. "Eleanor, it's deeper than you know. The power, it lies within you, awakened by the sins of your family." Before Eleanor could respond, the creature roared, shaking the earth, and for a second all eyes turned toward it. Fear morphed into something else, a pull, a recognition that spiraled through the air. Could it be? Were they all connected, intertwined in a web of history she had never understood? As the whispers grew louder, swirling like the shadows around them, Eleanor felt something crack deep within her. She was standing at the precipice of her past and future, surrounded by monsters and hidden truths. And as everything spun wildly, she realized the truth was much darker than she had ever imagined. What did they mean she was the key? What darkness lay ahead? Eleanor felt the air grow heavy with anticipation, knowing she might be on the brink of something terrifying and profound, a journey that would change everything she thought she knew. Eleanor's mind spun like a tornado, her heartbeat thudding in her ears. The revelation that the woman before her was her mother struck hard. "You're my mother?" The words felt foreign, like a jigsaw piece that didn't quite fit. The chaos around them buzzed like a swarm of bees, but all she could focus on was the truth unraveling rapidly. She searched her mother's eyes, desperate for answers. "Why now? Why didn't you come back sooner?" The first woman, still fierce in her claim, pressed on, urgency palpable. "You need to listen. It's not just about you, it's about them." She gestured dramatically towards the figures rising from the darkness. "What do you mean by them?" Eleanor shouted over the din. But before she could process the anger, fear, and loss, the creature roared again. The ground shook beneath her feet, pulling her back. "Eleanor!" Lily screamed, her voice cracking through the chaos. "We need to get out!" "Not yet!" Eleanor shrieked, pulling her mother closer. "I need answers!" And just as the creature lunged forward, everything changed. A blinding light erupted from the back of the crowd. People screamed, panic igniting like a match in a dry forest. The noise swelled, drowning out the roar of the creature. The light cloaked the space, enveloping everything for a moment. And then, in an instant, silence. Eleanor blinked. It was like the world had paused, everyone, frozen in shock. And then she saw it, a figure stepping forward from the haze. A man, tall and cryptic, old yet familiar. Behind him, shadows shifted. "Dad?" Eleanor muttered, emotions swirling inside her so fiercely she thought she might topple over. She had only seen him in old pictures. How could he be here now? How could this be happening? "Eleanor," he said, a deep, rumbling voice that made her heart flutter with confused hope. "I'm sorry." Every eye shifted to him. Even the creature hesitated at the unexpected presence. "You shouldn't have come. They'll find you." "They're already here," the doppelganger shrieked, eyes wide with madness. "This is your doing." She lunged toward him. "You brought this upon us." But the creature, sensing the shift, roared again, its attention divided. "What's going on?" Eleanor gasped, the pieces of this dark puzzle hurtling around her, slapping her in the face. And then it hit her. "You're all connected! What kind of game is this?" In that moment, the tension snapped, and the man turned, raising a hand. "I made mistakes, Eleanor. We all did. The bloodlines, they're intertwined, and the past is hunting us down." Then, with a suddenness that made her stomach drop, the shadows surged forth. Figures split from the throngs of darkness. They were like wraiths, each one slipping into the light, as if summoned by an ancient command. Faces twisted in rage, arms outstretched. "Flee, Eleanor, run!" her mother shouted, tears streaking down her cheeks, fear turning her features taut. As the figures raced towards them, something inside her snapped. She didn't want to run. She wanted answers. "No, you can't leave me like this!" And just as the wave was about to crash, the very ground beneath shifted violently, rippling like a disturbed pond. "You're not what you think!" a voice shouted from the shadows. And when Eleanor looked back, her heart shattered. It was Greg, blood running down his arm, eyes wide with betrayal. "You were always meant to be sacrificed." The words struck her like a lightning bolt. "What?" She felt her breath slip away, a cold tide rising in her chest. In that instant, everything she knew cracked into fragments, bitter and sharp. "Sacrificed," she echoed, horrified. "What does that even mean?" Then Eleanor's vision blurred as shadows gathered tighter around her, every heartbeat pounding in sync with the realization. Sacrifices, bloodlines, darkness. She was standing in the eye of a storm that threatened to swallow everything whole. What else was hidden? What was the cost of this twisted family tree? As the crowd screamed and shadows loomed closer, Eleanor knew she was about to discover just how deep the ties went and whether he could emerge unscathed. Eleanor's heart raced as the shadows surged closer, the realization washing over her like a tide of horror. There, in that moment, everything she thought she knew shattered like fragile glass. Were they truly talking about sacrifices? Bloodlines? Her bloodline? The roar of the creature echoed in her mind, a reminder that danger lurked closer than she could handle. "This can't be happening!" she exclaimed, panic threading through her voice. Behind her, Lily stood firm, clenching her fists as if bracing herself for what lay ahead. The figures closing in grew louder, their whispers curling into menacing echoes as they zeroed in on Eleanor, eyes filled with hunger and wrath. "Eleanor!" her mother cried, stepping forward, desperation painted across her face. "You need to believe me. If you don't confront the past, it will consume you." "Confront what?" Eleanor shouted, feeling the weight of an impending storm. "What do you want from me?" The creature lunged again, its monstrous form blocking out the flickering lights. The crowd gasped, recoiling from the dark shadow enveloping them. "The key to it all is you," the figure in the suit declared, a sinister smile stretching across his face. "Only you can sever the chains binding this darkness." A scream broke through the chaos. Greg was down, clutching his side as shock painted his features. "He's lying! They're using you!" he croaked, desperation making his voice tremble. Tension seeped into the air, thick enough to suffocate. With the creature snarling and the truth stretching like a taut string, Eleanor felt time stop. She knew she had to choose. Fear wrestled her instincts, but deep down, she felt something welling up inside. Courage, the spark of a truth that had remained buried for far too long. "Enough!" she roared, stepping forward, trembling but resolute. "This ends now." The crowd recoiled, stunned by her defiance. The shadows momentarily faltered, uncertainty skittering across their faces. Eleanor ignored it, her gaze fixed on her mother. "If you're truly my mother, then tell me, what do I need to do?" Her mother's eyes softened, shimmering with tears. "You need to embrace who you are. You are more powerful than you know. Together, we can break this cycle." The words hung in the air, heavy with potential. Eleanor felt a rush of warmth flickering inside her, igniting against the chill of despair. She took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of strength into her voice. "I will no longer live in fear. This darkness ends with me." Suddenly, the creature roared, the ground shaking beneath them, but Eleanor held her ground. She looked at Lily, then Greg, and finally at the woman before her. "All of you, join me. We have to fight." With renewed vigor, they stepped forward together, forming a united front against the looming shadows. As if sensing their resolve, the darkness recoiled, shifting and swirling in a chaotic dance. Eleanor's heart raced faster, energy crackling through the air. "Let's end this!" Motivated by her determination, the light that radiated from her began to crack through the dark. The shadows shrieked. The creature faltered. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Eleanor reached deep inside, embracing the powers she never knew she possessed. With an electrifying pulse, the light surged forward, reaching the dark entities, piercing them with truth and brilliance. "You have no power here," she declared, her voice echoing in strength. In a blinding flash, the darkness dissipated, and a surreal silence enveloped the scene as the creature howled one final cry before vanishing into the void. Eleanor stood tall, the light fading, yet leaving a lingering warmth. In that instant, everything shifted. The crowd blinked, witnessing the transformation, the release of a heavy weight, the breaking of ancestral chains. Eleanor looked around at the faces of her family, light flickering in their eyes. "I love you," her mother whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I am so proud of you." Eleanor nodded, breath hitching in her throat. "Thank you for coming back. I can finally see clearly." As the remaining figures disappeared into the night, whispering half-remembered thoughts back into the darkness, the people around her began to embrace the truth of their connection. They gathered, intertwining their stories, healing. "What now?" Lily asked, voice trembling. But there was hope glowing in her eyes. Eleanor smiled, her heart full yet tender. "Now we rebuild, together." As they walked away from the remnants of a past that could no longer hold them captive, the moon shone brightly above. A feeling of peace brushed against her soul, reassuring her that while the journey had been fraught with fear, growth awaited in the light. This was not just the end, but a beautiful new beginning, a chance to embrace hope, love, and the strongest truth of all, family. Now it's your moment to jump in. You have to subscribe right now to make sure you don't miss any exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now, because that really helps with the algorithm. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this epic ending. And if you care about your friends, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support makes all the difference, and I'm counting on you to be part of this journey.